There's a silo outside the PEZ factory in Orange, Connecticut that holds 70,000 pounds of sugar. A conveyor pulls it into a mill where 600 pounds at a time are ground into a fine powder, and then it goes into a giant mixing machine.
It actually looks like it's fluid in there, but it's not. It's a powder that's mixing around and becoming a granule.
That's Mark Morrissey, Chief Operating Officer. He says the granules then go into a machine that presses them into the little PEZ tablets.
So we're making 900,000 tablets an hour.
Joseph Vittoria became the president of PEZ about 5 years ago. He's often called the President. He says a big part of the draw of PEZ is the colorful plastic dispensers with toy heads.
It's not a video game. It doesn't have any chips in it. It's a simple memory of your childhood, but yet it has contemporary characters.
PEZ was first made in Austria in 1927, and the name was derived from the German word for peppermint. While much of the candy is made in Connecticut, the dispensers come from China and Hungary. Vittoria says making the dispensers in the U.S. would triple the cost. He says in a bad economy, candy companies do well, and PEZ is no exception.
We've grown 100% in the last 4.5 years.
He says a part of that success is the result of a shift in how the company approaches a key demographic, the collector community. Just like baseball cards, antiques, or stamps, there's a whole subculture of people who are obsessed with collecting the dispensers. They call themselves PEZ heads. Vittoria says he was beyond surprised the first time he went to a PEZ collectors convention.
Shocked is a better word. And the devotion and the knowledge that they have about specific differences in the product.
Last weekend at a Stamford hotel, hundreds of PEZ heads came from as far away as Slovenia to buy, sell, trade, and admire the toy candy dispensers. Dan and Jean Kay from Walpole, Massachusetts, say it's really more about the dispensers than the candy. They have about 500 of them on display in their home, and thousands more in boxes in the basement. Jean says when they buy new dispensers, they always get 3 of them.
One to put away for each grandchild and one to open. And once we open it, we take the candy and we put it in a bag. And then when Halloween comes, we mix it in with our regular Halloween candy and give it to all the neighborhood kids, which they think is a real treat.
But they don't get the dispensers.
They don't get the dispenser.
No.
Well, once in a while, we have given out dispensers, like to our favorite neighborhood kids.
John Laspina of Middletown, New Jersey, is the author of a PEZ price guide for collectors. He says the relationship between the company and the die-hard PEZ heads used to be strained.
And I'm partly to blame for that, because back in the 1990s, I would go to the PEZ company and jump into their dumpster and pull out PEZ dispensers. So they just looked at us as fanatics maybe, and they just didn't really want to do anything with us.
He says that's changed over the last few years as the company has introduced special collectible sets with themes like Star Trek and The Wizard of Oz. The collectors say it's the variety of dispensers that make them such great collectibles. Some are so rare that they could be worth big money. Richie Beliski is a former Long Island police officer who coordinates the annual convention in Stamford.
Actually, there was a guy here that bought one on eBay, a pineapple in a package for $4,000.
George Gurdon is an attorney from North Haven, Connecticut. He says he has more than 1,000 dispensers in his collection.
My wife would think I spent too much money on PEZ, but I look at it as an investment. I can justify it that way. I have them all over the office. When clients come in, they breaks the ice sometimes.
He says even though it's an investment, his wife wouldn't really want him to sell them, because then he'd just start collecting something else. Craig Lamolt, WSHU News.